It's hard to explain the feeling you get when you realize your privacy, your sense of safety in your own home has been violated, not by a criminal or a stranger passing by, but by someone you see nearly every day. Someone who smiles to your face and waves as if everything is perfectly normal. That someone, in my case, is HOA Karen. We moved into the neighborhood 2 years ago. It was quiet, safe, and filled with families like ours. At first, Karen seemed like any typical suburban neighbor, always pruning her hedges, watching over her lawn like it was sacred ground, and issuing passive-aggressive comments whenever someone parked slightly over the curb. You know, a little intense, but harmless. That illusion shattered a few weeks ago. It started when my 10-year-old son came inside and said something strange. "Mom, I think the neighbor's camera is following me." I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe he'd seen a security camera angled weirdly. Lots of people have doorbell cams and floodlight cams these days. But something about the way he said it stayed with me. So the next day, I took a walk around the edge of our property line. Sure enough, I spotted a tiny black lens peeking out from a birdhouse nailed to a tree in Karen's yard except it wasn't pointed toward her house. It was pointed directly at our backyard. And that wasn't all. 2 more hidden and decorative fixtures, one in a fake rock near her flower bed, and another inside what looked like a regular outdoor lamp, all aimed at various parts of our home. She wasn't just being a nosy neighbor, she was monitoring us. I didn't say anything immediately. I needed proof. That night, I called a friend of mine who works in tech security. He brought over a detection device that picks up wireless signals from hidden cameras. We swept the area. Not only did we confirm the cameras were active, but they were all broadcasting to a local device, likely in Karen's house. The most chilling part? One of the cameras had night vision. She'd been watching us during the day, during the night, during every moment we thought we were safe in our own yard. We contacted the police. At first, they told us there wasn't much they could do unless we had evidence of audio recording or footage proving she was viewing or storing the videos. But we weren't going to let it drop. My husband had a brilliant idea. Set up our own camera hidden, pointing back at hers. We caught her on video, adjusting one of the lenses, zooming it further into our yard. That was the final nail in the coffin. We took the footage to a lawyer, then back to the police with a formal complaint. We're now in the middle of legal proceedings. HOA has been notified. Some of the neighbors are shocked. Others admitted they always thought Karen was a little too interested in everyone else's lives, but never imagined she'd cross this line. And the wildest part? Karen still doesn't know I found out. She still waves when I walk past. She still waters her plants like nothing is wrong. But I know. And soon, everyone else will too. After we submitted the footage and filed a formal complaint, things started to shift subtly at first, then all at once. A week later, we noticed a city vehicle parked near Karen's house. 2 men in plain clothes stepped out and started surveying her yard. One of them carried what looked like a signal scanner. They weren't just looking, they were investigating. Quietly, carefully. It turns out, our case wasn't the first strange incident on this street. We just happened to be the first family with enough evidence to push things forward. Then came the whispers. Mrs. Thompson from across the street knocked on our door with a concerned look in her eyes. "I thought I was going crazy," she said, voice trembling. "I used to hear strange clicking sounds on my phone when I'd talk outside. I thought it was just old equipment." She wasn't the only one. In the next 2 weeks, 4 more families approached us with suspicions they'd long buried. Missing packages, strange cars idling near their homes at night. Even one neighbor who said they once caught Karen standing behind their fence, checking something at 2 a.m. The neighborhood HOA held an emergency meeting. Karen didn't show. What did show up, though, were printouts. Lots of them. Someone had anonymously distributed stills from the footage we had captured, images of her adjusting the cameras, screenshots of the device IDs broadcasting from her property. We hadn't sent them, but someone did. Probably another fed-up neighbor. That night, a motion was passed to investigate Karen's behavior as a violation of multiple HOA codes, including unauthorized surveillance and endangering neighborhood privacy. Still, Karen stayed silent. No apology, no denial, no explanation. Just that same artificial wave every morning. But things weren't quiet in her house. One night, around 1:30 a.m., we saw flashing lights. Police. Not a siren blaring arrest, but a knock-and-enter situation. Quiet, calm, but serious. They were inside for over an hour. When they left, they took several bags with them. The next morning, the cameras were gone. Not just turned off, physically removed. That should have been the end, right? But it wasn't. 2 days later, a letter appeared in our mailbox. No return address, just a single sheet of paper. Typed, it read, "You have no idea what you've started. She was watching more than you think." That's when we realized this might be bigger than just Karen. Bigger than one nosy woman with too much time and too many gadgets. Maybe she was part of something else. Maybe someone wanted her to watch. And suddenly, we weren't just looking at a neighborhood problem, we were staring into something much darker. The letter was unsettling. It hinted at something deeper, something more sinister than what we'd initially thought. At first, we chalked it up to a veiled threat from Karenaby, an attempt to intimidate us into backing off. But after talking it over with our lawyer, we realized something important. Karen was just a small piece of a much bigger puzzle. The police investigation was still ongoing, but it wasn't just about the cameras anymore. We learned that Karen's behavior had been part of a wider pattern in the neighborhood. It turned out she wasn't the only one involved in this type of surveillance. Several other residents had been targeted in different ways, from hidden cameras to strange phone calls. What we didn't know was that Karen had been coordinating with someone much more dangerous, a private surveillance firm that catered to people willing to pay for such information. Karen had been paid to gather intel on certain families in our neighborhood, and she'd been using her position as the neighborhood watch to do it. As shocking as it was, it explained everything. The passive-aggressive behavior, the unprovoked interest in our every move, and the strange happenings around our homes. The neighborhood had unknowingly been under surveillance for months, perhaps longer. When the police finally caught wind of the larger operation, the full scale of what had been going on began to emerge. The surveillance firm had been operating in several neighborhoods, but it was only in ours that they'd encountered someone willing to fight back. Karen was arrested, along with several accomplices, and charged with multiple violations, including invasion of privacy, conspiracy, and illegal surveillance. The most disturbing revelation, however, came during the trial. It was revealed that the firm Karen worked with had been hired by a competitor of one of the local businesses, a business owner who had suspected one of the neighborhood families might be secretly planning a rival business venture. It was all about gathering personal data and blackmail. The shock of it all rippled through our community. Neighbors were terrified. Many of them had been unwittingly caught up in the surveillance as well. People who thought they were safe in their own homes realized they'd been watched for months, even years. Some found out their private conversations had been recorded. But for my family, it ended with a sense of relief. The cameras were gone, and the legal proceedings continued, with a firm sense that justice would be served. Karen's life, as she knew it, was shattered. And while we didn't feel good about what had happened to her, we knew she'd crossed a line that couldn't be ignored. As for us, we took the lessons learned to heart. The importance of privacy, the dangers of complacency, and the strength found in standing up for what's right. And while we no longer had to worry about Karen lurking in the shadows, the experience changed the way we saw the world. It was a reminder that sometimes, the quietest places hold the darkest secrets. And when you least expect it, someone might be watching.